The night was cold, the streets slick with rain, and the city lights cast long, trembling reflections across the puddles. A black limousine crawled slowly along the avenue, its tinted windows concealing the panic inside. Inside, a distraught father, a man whose name carried weight in every skyscraper he had built, gripped the seat with white-knuckled intensity. His son, his only child, had vanished. No ransom note, no calls, nothing. Just the eerie silence of a missing life. The security chief, a stern woman with sharp eyes, barked into her headset, repeating every detail like a mantra. Search every street, every alley, every camera feed. No stone unturned. But as the hours dragged into a night that felt like it would never end, the billionaire's resources began to feel useless. It was a reminder that money could buy almost anything but not certainty, not the safety of someone you loved. Flashback 3 months earlier. The city felt warmer then, alive with spring energy. In a quiet corner of a high school, a janitor named Tom Wallace moved quietly through the hallways, pushing a mop bucket with a rhythm that had become second nature. Tom's life had been small, modest, and painstakingly ordinary. A single dad raising his 12-year-old daughter, Ellie. He had learned to find comfort in the little things. The way the morning sun hit the cafeteria floor, the nods of teachers, passing by the laughter of students echoing down hallways. Tom had been cleaning the school for nearly a decade. He didn't need recognition. He didn't expect it. But he noticed everything. Every face, every routine, every student who lingered in the hall a little too long or came in late. Their head hung low. It was a skill born out of necessity. Tom had no choice but to pay attention. Life had taught him that missing a detail could mean disaster. And then came the day that changed everything. Tom was mopping the tile near the main office when the principal came out. Red-faced, flustered. "Tom," she said, voice quivering, "do you know anything about Henry? Henry Palmer? He's gone." Tom froze mid-swipe, mop suspended in the air. Henry Palmer, the son of the city's wealthiest man, always polite, always careful, always. Somehow completely invisible in the eyes of most. But Tom noticed he had seen Henry every morning, lunch, and passing between classes. Something in his gut told him this wasn't just another runaway or a skipped class. I haven't seen him," Tom said carefully, though his mind was already racing. The principal shook her head. "I don't know what to do. His father is well, you know. He's not someone you want to disappoint." Tom's heart thumped in his chest, not out of fear of the billionaire, but out of a sense of responsibility he couldn't explain. Something told him that if he didn't act, a child might be lost forever. That evening, Tom walked the empty hallways alone, flashlight in hand. Every door he passed, every locker he glanced at, every darkened corner was a story waiting to be read. And then, faintly, a sound sniffling, almost imperceptible. He followed it. Down a janitor's service corridor behind a stack of old gym mats, he found Henry curled up, eyes wide, shaking. "Hey," Tom said softly, kneeling down to meet the boy's gaze. "You okay?" Henry's small voice barely whispered. I didn't mean to get lost." Tom's heart clenched. He wrapped a gentle arm around the boy and whispered reassuringly, "It's okay. You're safe now." It was the start of something that would ripple far beyond that school hallway. A quiet heroism unnoticed by the world but crucial for the life of one frightened child. And now, months later, standing under the flickering streetlights in the stormy night, Tom had no idea that he would soon be called upon again in a far more dangerous and urgent way. The morning after the incident, Tom's small apartment smelled faintly of breakfast and the lingering aroma of coffee. Ellie sat at the kitchen table, hunched over her homework, her small brows furrowed in concentration. Tom tried to focus on the mundane, the washing up, the dishes, the laundry, but his mind couldn't stop returning to Henry, to the fear in the boy's eyes, to the weight of responsibility that seemed to rest on his shoulders, invisible and heavy. It wasn't heroism, Tom reminded himself. It was necessity. Every day he lived with the awareness that life could unravel in an instant, and if he didn't act, no one else would. He knew this world. He had survived a tan. He had learned to trust his instincts. A knock on the door brought him back. It was the principal, flushed from the brisk morning air. "Tom," she said, slightly out of breath, I want to thank you. I know you didn't have to do that." Tom waved his hand dismissively. "Just part of the job. Key," she said firmly. "It was more than that. You went above and beyond. You saved him, and I don't know how to properly thank you." Tom shrugged, feeling the familiar twinge of discomfort that came with recognition. Kindness, he had always believed, wasn't about applause. It was about doing what was right, even when no one was watching. Weeks passed. Life at school returned to its rhythm. But Tom couldn't shake the feeling that the world was fragile, and that there were children like Henry everywhere, vulnerable, overlooked, lost. So he continued his quiet acts, offering a kind word, a helping hand, a listening ear. Sometimes it was simple helping a student find a lost notebook. Sometimes it was life-changing intervening before a small crisis became a disaster. It was a Tuesday when the first inkling of something larger came. Tom was emptying the trash near the auditorium when he overheard two older students talking. "Did you hear about the Palmer kid?" One said, "I swear, he's gone. No one's seen him since last night." Tom's pulse quickened. Something was happening. Something serious. His mind raced through every corner of the school, every shadow, every pattern he had learned to read over years of quiet observation. He knew instinctively that if he acted quickly, he could make a difference again. He found Henry again, this time near the back exit, trying to hide behind the dumpsters. Fear and shame were etched on his young face. Tom crouched down, keeping his voice calm, steady. "Hey, Henry," he said softly. "It's okay. You don't have to hide from me. I'm here to help." Tears filled the boy's eyes. I didn't know where else to go," he admitted. I was scared." Tom nodded, placing a gentle hand on Henry's shoulder. "I know, and that's okay. But running doesn't solve anything. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." As they walked back toward the school, Henry's small hand clutching Tom's, the janitor felt something he hadn't in years, a connection deeper than words, a trust built in the quiet spaces of life's chaos. That morning, Tom realized that kindness, true kindness, had a power that could not be measured in money, influence, or fame. And far away, in a skyscraper office that pierced the clouds, a father would soon feel the weight of that realization in the most dramatic way possible. When the news broke, the city was ablaze with headlines. "Millionaire's son goes missing." Cameras swarmed the Palmer estate. Reporters, flashing lights, invasive microphones, everything that could humiliate. Shame and pressure descended on the family. The world watched, and the billionaire father's anger and fear bled into every word he spoke. But the public didn't know the truth. They didn't know that a quiet janitor had noticed, had acted, and had saved Henry from danger. Instead, all they saw was a father in public turmoil, a child missing, and the gaping hole of media frenzy, waiting to fill it with speculation and judgment. Tom found himself navigating an impossible reality. The media was relentless, reporters circling the school, the police questioning every detail, even subtle interactions he had had with Henry in the past. A single misplaced word could shift suspicion. Yet Tom remained calm, resolute, knowing that his priority wasn't reputation, it was the child's safety. Then came the worst moment, the father's public accusation. Somebody let him slip through, he declared to the cameras, voice tight with anger. "Somebody failed. I want answers." Tom felt a cold pit in his stomach. Every eye in the room shifted toward him. Whispers filled the hallways. Staff members avoided him. He had done nothing wrong, yet the world's judgment landed on him like a weighty hand. Henry, sensing the tension, clung quietly to his backpack, a small, trembling figure in the storm of scrutiny. Tom's heart ached. He had saved the boy. He had kept him safe. And yet, The injustice of misunderstanding and public humiliation felt suffocating. And then the cruelest twist. The child's disappearance was revealed in such a way that the janitor's crucial role was completely ignored. In the media, in the police statements, in every news headline, Tom was invisible. The world celebrated panic and fear. He realized in that moment that heroism often came without recognition. And sometimes the universe was indifferent to justice. But the world has a strange way of balancing its scales. Weeks later, the truth emerged. The investigation revealed that Henry had been approached by a stranger outside the school, lured toward a van in a nearby alley. Security footage and careful detective work confirmed Tom's account. It was his awareness, his actions, that had prevented a tragedy. The billionaire father, red-faced and humbled, arrived at the school with a limousine that felt both alien and unnecessary. He found Tom in the cafeteria, wiping down tables as if the past month's chaos had never happened. I owe you an apology, he said, voice stiff. I should have listened. I should have recognized. Tom shook his head, brushing off the formality. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because it was right. Because he's a child and someone had to be there. The father's eyes softened. You saved him, truly. And I don't know how to thank you properly. There was no ceremony, no trophy, no grand stage. But justice had arrived not in headlines. Not in applause, but in the quiet acknowledgement that one man's dedication and moral compass had prevented a tragedy. Years passed. Ellie grew into a strong, compassionate young woman, and Henry, once the scared missing boy, thrived with confidence and curiosity. Tom continued his work as a janitor, now respected by the school community not just for his diligence, but for the integrity and heart he had shown when it mattered most. One afternoon, the Palmer family returned not with cameras, not with flashbulbs, but with a simple invitation. They wanted Tom to join them at a charity event for children in need. He hesitated, thinking of modesty, thinking of the quiet life he had built. But he went, and there he saw the power of kindness reflected back. Smiling children, grateful families, a father who had learned humility and the true value of human compassion. Tom stood quietly to the side, watching Ellie play with Henry, laughter filling the space between them. And in that moment, he understood the truth he had always known but never needed validation for. That acts of kindness, no matter how small, have a ripple effect that can save lives, heal wounds, and restore faith in a world that so often seems unjust. As he left the event, the father approached him once more. Thank you, he said simply. Not just for saving my son, but for reminding me what truly matters. Tom nodded. Just doing my part. The world needs more of it. And with that, he walked home, the weight of recognition replaced by the warmth of a life lived rightly. The moral was clear, like a beacon cutting through the storm. True heroism isn't measured by wealth, power, or applause. It's measured by the courage to do good when it matters most. And in that courage, the world finds its greatest hope.